About the first for today, December the 12th, 2022. I'm Ryan Balaji. Good to have you here with us. We are presented by our friends at French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. For those of you watching the show today, instead of listening to the show, you get treated to a Star Wars sweatshirt because I'm at the point in my year where I'm starting to think about the clothes I haven't worn lately, and this was one of them. I got at Disney World for last year for my son's birthday. We were down there, and so yeah, this is what you get. But on future shows, happy to take fashion suggestions or donations if you have something a cause you want to promote or whatever. But anyway, we've got today's show. We've probably got one more, maybe two more this week, and then we're going to shut it down for the holidays. There's really not much going on this week. We had some stuff to talk about from over the weekend. We'll talk about that between today and our next show, and then we'll just kind of wrap everything up into a nice bow. We do have a tournament this week, actually, on the DP World with the Sunshine Tour, which is the Aphrodisia Mauritius Bank Mauritius Open, which is an island nation in the southern part of, southeastern part of Africa. Really interesting tournament, actually. It's kind of fun to watch. Tends to be subject to the wind on an island nation like that. So some fun there and some names. I mean, Nicholas Colsaerts, Thomas Bjorn, a couple other guys in the field that are worth watching. So there's that, but really not a whole lot otherwise to talk about. So on today's show, we got a couple of topics. Talking about the match 7, what went right, what went wrong, and then we're going to talk about on the back end the story from the New York Times about LIV and reporting from a consultancy company called McKinsey. If you're familiar with them, we'll bring you up to speed a little bit on them and their relationship to dictatorial governments and whatever millions they reap in by telling dictators and authoritarian governments that what they're doing is absolutely going to work and be totally fine. So we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. Let's talk about match 7. So, match 7. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy teaming up, take on Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas at Pelican Golf Club, just outside Tampa. Really, really a good time. I mean, just a good, clean, fun time. 12 holes match. Well, obviously I didn't go 12 holes. Spieth and Thomas won 3 and 2. So 10 very fun holes of golf. And I think this is the right way forward for the match. This is exactly what this needs to be, and this is exactly what I would love to see moving forward from the Monday Night Golf concept that Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have put together that they're going to start trying to do in 2024. And let's talk about the match for which Monday Night Golf should be. So you had all 4 guys mic'd up. You had them in their own carts, which was lovely. Under the lights, which was nice. 12 holes is just the right amount of time for these nighttime events, because you know it's going to wrap up in 2/3 of a normal round, which if you're playing at a good pace in one of these type of events would be 4 hours. So you're playing 2/3 of that. It's just going to be a couple of hours, 2.5 hours maybe of golf at the most. You're going to get plenty of action because you're going to try to win holes. You're not going to try to nurse a lead. You got to try to win holes because there just aren't that many of them. And the team that's struggling or the team that's behind is going to have to play aggressively too and try to make birdies because they need to catch up. So there's a lot working for it in 12 holes. The team format works because obviously if one player struggles, you could have another that could pick the other up. You create more opportunities, more birdie opportunities for scoring. That's something that's good. The other thing that I like about the team format is that you get to see some camaraderie there, and you also get to see a little bit more smack talk, I think. Seems to me, and this is just my experience in life playing golf, that people feel more comfortable talking smack a little bit when there are teams involved or when there are 4 people involved. It gets kind of awkward talking smack to somebody one-on-one because you're still playing golf with them for the remainder of the round. And if it's just you two, it gets really weird. But if there are 4 people, you could talk to somebody else, talk a little smack, have a little fun, go back to the talking smack. That all kind of works really nicely. And the other thing that I thought went really, really well is that each of these 4 players are very gregarious. They like to talk. You don't have 2 introverts or natural introverts who are trying to seem like they're extroverted, looking at you, Brooks and Bryson, and they are willing to not only give of themselves to make it more entertaining and smack and talk with Charles Barkley and talk with Brian Anderson, Trevor Immelman, all the people who were calling the match, Catherine Tappan, but also they were willing to explain their process. They were willing to explain to all of us watching what they were doing, why they were doing it, and why they usually do it one way or another, what they were looking for. That is a really cool window, really cool peel back of the curtain into how a professional golfer, a world-class golfer, thinks about golf, how they think about doing things. The thing that stood out to me, and I've said this a couple of different times, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, but the one that really stood out to me were two shots. One was Justin Thomas trying to explain hook spin with a wedge to get the ball to come back down off the slope to set up a 4-foot putt. That was awesome. It was a great explanation of what he was trying to do and what could go wrong given that it was a little wet and the risk that it meant, but the reward could be great. And then Rory McIlroy hooking one 30 yards from a lie that had him have to go make a decision between windows that he probably saw 3 or 4 and then narrowed it down because he had 3 trees in front of him, 2 to the, one in the middle, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. The one to the left and the one in the middle were more kind of parallel. The one to the right was a little bit more in front of the one in the middle, and he decided to take the smaller path and hit a bigger hook. And just to pull off the shot and then to understand what he was doing was really illuminating. And I thought that was the best part. And all of it kind of came together very nicely in a nice snappy package. Got it over with. The nighttime thing works because you can do it in prime time. You can be on other people's schedules. Golf kind of works on a weird schedule sometimes, especially Thursday, Friday, where you're like, well, we're on TV from 4 to 7 in the evening or 1 to 4 in the afternoon. Like, if you're working outside of your home, it's just not possible for you. You're just not going to watch it. Or if you are, it's going to be on a small device and kind of half attention. That doesn't, but this works because you can say, okay, we are going to be on at 7 p.m. We are going to go till 9 or 9:30. You can invest in this match and know you will probably be awake to watch the end of it. If you're on the West Coast, you get to watch it late afternoon to early evening. That works too. And you can do it in a way that isn't a guarantee you're going to take too much of someone's time. Perfect. Now, I would love to see this kind of thing happen in Monday Night Golf. We've talked about in the past Tiger and Rory are coming together in this and have already come together in this joint venture called TMRW, Tomorrow Sports. And what they're trying to do is to create this screen golf league with a purpose-built venue that will have 6 teams. They're going to have those 6 teams of 3 players play a hybrid of simulator golf and some short game and putting stuff that happens in a physical green complex on the property or whatever the venue is and have an audience. And they're going to try and get it done in 2.5 hours on a Monday night. What I would really love to see, and I appreciate the screen golf concept, but what I would really love to see is Monday Night Golf come together as a venture, buy their own course, probably not that much more expensive than building a venue purpose-built, and going and retrofitting it with floodlights. I mean, that can't be that. I mean, it's expensive. It's 7 figures, but it's not that expensive. And have this league built around playing at a certain venue every time. Make it like its own stadium kind of thing. And I know in golf we love to go from venue to venue to venue. At the end of the day, the golf is the entertainment. Not as many people care about architecture, and I love architecture. But if you develop a familiarity with courses and how things move and evolve, then you're kind of introducing some of the love for the Masters. That you know the venue, you know the shots, you've seen them over the years, you know what's possible, good and bad. And if you have a purpose-built venue for outdoor golf, and they could be 9 or 12 hole matches, and you say, okay, we've got this league of 6 teams that every team has to compete every week. You have a season-long set of matches. You have one match with one team of 3 versus one team of 3. You have another kind of special attraction match, whether that's one team taking on a challenger team, whether that's a one-on-one, a two-on-two, like 2 things going on at once. You do that, you broadcast it, 2.5 hours, we're done. Everyone loves it. It's in prime time. It's outdoors. Boom. There it is. That's what I would like to see. And I think they can do that. I don't think that's that much more expensive than purpose building a simulator stadium in effect. I hope they consider it. They probably won't, but I would love if they did. And I feel like that was a lot of the reaction from last night, or Saturday night rather, that there needs to be more of this in golf. And if we can engineer that in a way that involves outdoor golf and not have to do it with simulator golf, there'd be all the more build-in, all the more buy-in to it. So fingers crossed, we still got time before they have to reveal everything that they're trying to do. But, man, if you took it outdoors, it'd be so much better. Okay, now, let's get into the second story, which is from the New York Times, which was from Sunday. It came out, I think, in the early afternoon, but from a couple of folks who don't write about golf. I don't know if they write about sports, but I know they don't write about golf because I've never recognized the byline. And the story, it kind of takes more of a political tone in nature, as these things kind of tend to do. But we're talking about a story from the New York Times regarding some documentation that these folks, these reporters, got their hands on from McKinsey. And McKinsey is a consulting company that really makes a lot of money, and they do so by working with kind of high-powered companies. They love to work with different governments, particularly authoritarian governments for whatever reason. And in their dealings, they do a lot of kind of looking at assumptions, looking at projects, looking at that type of thing, and assessing whether the business model or the idea in question is a good one and worth someone's time. And this one obviously relates to the Saudis and their construction of LIV Golf. So you've got this story from the Times, and they say they've acquired hundreds of pages of documents from McKinsey and the recommendations that they've made to the Saudi government, and particularly the Public Investment Fund as it relates to this project, LIV Golf. They call it Project Wedge, which really could, I mean, not very creative, but I guess they don't need to be particularly creative. And the documentation that they share, or they don't really share much of the knock on the story, is they bill this as, oh, we've got information that tells you about their business model and their assumptions, and that this is very clearly not meant to be a profitable thing and meant to be about sports washing and trying to build relationships, so it's okay for people to invest in Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. And everything that comes out leaves you going, yeah, duh, no crap. We've known all of this from the beginning. None of this is remotely different and doesn't change anything about what we've known about LIV for the better part of a year. We have known that this is about building relationships for the Saudis to make people comfortable to invest and work with them. Got it. And maybe to help rehabilitate their reputation if they think that's possible. Got that too. We have also known some of the things that the Times put in the story of, well, we have two different sets of assumptions from McKinsey that the business is going to go really poorly from a P&L perspective if they don't get top stars, they don't get Tiger Woods, they don't get a TV deal, the PGA Tour pushes back, and they don't get an audience that cares about the product. That's a very basic set of assumptions all of us have made. Whether you're pro-LIV or anti-LIV, we have all assumed if you didn't get good golfers, if you don't have a TV deal, if the PGA Tour makes a problem of it, if the players make it a problem, and no one cares, then it's not going to work. That's just how business works. You could insert any business name concept into it, and that's what will be true. And then the other, rosy scenario is, well, the PGA Tour acquiesces, you get Tiger Woods and all the other top players, you get sponsors really easily, the fans love it, and it's on network TV at the best possible time. Well, in 6 years, you're going to make a handsome couple $1 billion. Also, no duh. Both of those things are absolutely true. None of that is illuminating whatsoever. And so I came away from reading the piece thinking, what am I supposed to know here? What am I supposed to have thought was a revelation? And if you're not familiar with LIV Golf, this is a fair primer, I suppose, but it's also written from the perspective that you kind of know some things that are going on. And the people who wrote the piece did, frankly, a poor job in presenting the information, because not only did they present stuff that everyone who would know about the topic would know and would be familiar with, but they didn't explain enough to people who are not familiar with the topic that they would be brought up to speed. So everyone loses. If you know what you're talking about, or if you've read enough about it, you're like, this was a waste of my time. And if you don't know about what's going on, you're like, huh? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Absolute dud on both counts. Now, there were some interesting things that came out of it. One of those things was this kind of punch list of golfers, of 12 golfers, that McKinsey said you had to get at least 6 of them to be viable as a product. And we don't know the list of 12, but we do know some of the players that were on that list that they got, including Dustin Johnson and Sergio Garcia and Henrik Stenson. Now, I think that would tell you something about what how LIV or how the Saudis perceive golf, because look at those guys. They're guys that were stars and, you know, right now aren't really so much. And they've won majors, of course, and Dustin Johnson's still a tremendous, incredible golfer, as all the talent in the world to win a major championship still. But I would argue that Sergio and Henrik, those days are long gone. There was a fourth name on the list, and I forget it at the moment, but that name was like, that's not really a star either. And I need to understand why LIV has so many players that are on the tail end, if not done with their career, and why so many players took the opportunity to sign with LIV thinking, and people, broadcasters even, the people that sign with LIV thinking, I'm never going to have to work again after this. I'm on the decline. I'm getting paid. I'm not relevant to major championship golf. Who cares? They're going to take the money. And if the rest of the players of the 12 on that list, I assume Tiger is his own list because that's the way they made it seem. But if the rest of the players on the list are similar, then that completely explains everything. But the other golfers they probably aspire to get are golfers that are loyal to the PGA Tour. So you got to think about Rahm and McIlroy and Spieth and Thomas. You think about those four guys out the gate. You might consider Xander Schauffele. I don't know. I don't know what makes their list. That's the one thing, one of the few things in the piece that left me also wanting of, okay, you told me 4 that they got, but who are the other 8? And did they have any chance? And then they got into the Saudis' interest in having a board that had very important people on it, including Virginia Remedy, who was the former CEO of IBM and is a member at Augusta National, which has made it very evident they do not like the concept of LIV. And then Randall Stevenson, who was on the PGA Tours board. Like, you were going to get that guy. That guy's just going to... And he said to the Times for the piece, yeah, that would have been a quick conversation. As in, no thanks, we're done here. So, there was a thought of maybe getting Michael Jordan on the board. Jordan's aligned with Woods. There's no way that would ever happen. That's not even... You couldn't pay him enough money to do that. So, on one hand, you get a sense of kind of the pie-in-the-sky aspirations that LIV has in the early stages, but we also don't know where they are now. We also don't know if the reality of running this thing for closer to a year and getting what they've gotten, which is significant but not huge, they maybe haven't gotten as far as they want, but they got pretty far, where their mind is now. Do they still feel the same things? Do they still want a board with those types of people? It seems like maybe things have changed. Now Norman's on the board once it develops, and the gentleman who's the head of Saudi Golf on the board once it develops. And then you're going to have other people, I guess, and who knows who those people could be, right? Could be anybody. But it clearly isn't going to be all the people they thought they were going to get once they created this notion of the concept. And then you also don't know anything from the story about the concept of franchises and where they got the valuation idea from and who they think the sponsors could be and who they think the target buyers could be. What the budget looks like for these franchises to run each year, because they're trying to turn this into a team-driven league concept where teams have their own budgets and they spend their own money on their own resources, just like an NBA team would or NFL team, name your sports league. But there's been no explanation where that money is coming from, whether the players are supplying that to their teams based on their quote-unquote ownership stake of the team, and what's the expectation there. I'm genuinely curious about that from a business development perspective of, okay, if Dustin Johnson owns, let's say, a quarter of 4 Aces, his team, is he expected to spend $15-20 million next year in building up merch and fan pages and having social media coordinators and transportation for the teams? So I don't know. If that's the case, then all of those signing bonuses get quickly depleted, right? I mean, unless you have people to come in and buy the rest of the parts of the team. And I don't know where that comes from. I've obviously been skeptical about that, will remain skeptical about that. But I walked away so disappointed from the piece because it left out so many of the details. And it's a journalism trick. where you say, oh, well, we have fresh documents and hundreds of pages of documents and evidence, and the only things that you gave me were the obvious stuff. The only things from the documents were that you told me that if LIV does a bad job, the business will fail. If LIV does a good job, the business will work. That they got some players that they wanted to sign, but they didn't tell me all of them. They have a pie-in-the-sky vision of a board. Pretty much every business has that idea. And that's it. Nothing. Nothing new. Nothing interesting. So hopefully they come out with something more. Hopefully there's something more to show for hundreds, quote-unquote, hundreds of pages of stuff. And if that's not the case, then we'll probably see a whole lot more in the discovery around the trial between the PGA Tour and LIV suing them along with a couple of players that are still remaining in the suit. Big fat nothing. Big old disappointment. So hopefully if you haven't read it, that this will prevent you from reading it and we can all just kind of move on with our lives. And if you did read it, I'm sorry. Hopefully this will allow you to commiserate and vent together that you wasted your time reading that piece. That's going to do it for us today on 2 Out the. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Again, we'll have 1 or 2 more shows this week, then wrap everything up for the holidays. Maybe a couple of kind of countdown type shows. We're still debating whether I'm going to do that or not over the course of the holiday. If this is the last show you watch or listen to for the year, happy holidays. Thank you so much for the support. Thanks for checking us out. We'll be back in 2023, obviously, but we got a couple more shows left in the year. We will talk to you next time on 2 at the First. Have a great one, everybody.